On the morning of March 17, 2023, a rainy Friday in Joinville, Santa Catarina, Mariana Silva, only 12 years old, left home to go to school, as she did every day. The only child of Paulo and Regina Silva, the girl was described by everyone as studious, shy, and having few friends. That morning, she wore her school uniform, carried a pink backpack with her books, and the cell phone her parents had given her the previous Christmas, a gift that was meant to be used only for communication with her family. At 7:30 a.m., Mariana entered the Colegio Estatal Professor Carlos Gomez, as recorded by the school's security cameras. The school day went on as usual until the 10:15 break, when the teenager was last seen by her friend Beatrice, who reported to investigators that Mariana seemed anxious and was constantly checking her phone. She told me she needed to resolve something important and would be back before the end of the break, Beatrice told the police. However, Mariana did not return to the classroom when the bell rang at 10:30. The math teacher noticed her absence and notified the school coordination, who initially thought the girl might be in the bathroom or the infirmary. At 12:30 p.m., Regina Silva waited for her daughter at the school gate, as usual. After 20 minutes of waiting, concerned, she went to the coordination, which confirmed that Mariana had been absent from the last classes of the day. The school immediately began searching all areas, without success. At 1:45 p.m., the military police were called, and the disappearance was officially recorded. The weather in Joinville that day was particularly adverse, with moderate rain and a temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, which made the initial searches around the school difficult. The worry grew when the parents tried to call Mariana's cell phone and discovered it was turned off. This was unusual, as the girl always kept in touch with her family. When reviewing Mariana's belongings left at school, the coordinator found her math notebook with the note, "Encontro onzer Praca Central," written on the last page. This was the first clue that the disappearance might not have been accidental. The police immediately requested the security footage from the school and the central square, located about 800 meters from the institution. At the family home, investigators conducted a search of Mariana's room. The teenager's personal computer revealed no suspicious activities, but when the technicians gained access to the history on her WhatsApp and her tablet, they discovered a series of conversations with a contact saved as Lucas Amigo, which had started approximately 3 weeks before the disappearance. The messages initially seemed innocent, discussing online games and TV series, but gradually evolved into more personal and intimate exchanges. The supposed Lucas claimed to be 14 years old and studied at a nearby private school. In the last messages exchanged on the morning of her disappearance, Lucas invited Mariana to meet at Praca Central, promising to show her a surprise gift. If you want to follow more cases like this, which shake the entire society and reveal hidden truths, subscribe to the channel to not miss any investigation. In the first 48 hours after Mariana's disappearance, the Santa Catarina Civil Police set up a special task force dedicated exclusively to the case. Delegate Roberto Mendez from the Child and Adolescent Protection Division, DPCA, took the lead in the investigation, which initially followed two main lines: the possibility of voluntary runaway or the hypothesis of abduction by third parties. The analysis of the school's security cameras confirmed that Mariana had left alone through the side gate at 10:32 a.m., walking hurriedly towards the central square. The square's cameras, however, showed a blind spot in the most wooded area, where the meeting might have occurred. A camera from a nearby business partially recorded Mariana's silhouette entering the square at 10:47 a.m., but there was no visual record of her leaving. On March 19th, 2 days after her disappearance, investigators were able to trace the phone number associated with the contact Lucas Amigo. To their surprise, A SIM card had been purchased with false documents and activated only a month before. The conversations with Mariana began. The line was deactivated precisely at 12:03 p.m. on the day of her disappearance, making it difficult to locate her via geolocation. "We are dealing with a case that shows signs of premeditation," declared Delegate Mendez in a press conference on the third day of the search. The supposed Lucas had created a fictitious identity and carefully planned his contact with the victim. Interviews with classmates revealed that Mariana had not mentioned Lucas to anyone, except Beatriz, and only vaguely. According to Beatriz's testimony, Mariana had mentioned meeting a nice boy online about 2 weeks before, but didn't share details for fear that her parents would find out and prohibit the contact. The investigation took a more complex turn when experts analyzed the full content of the recovered conversations. The language techniques used by the supposed Lucas presented patterns consistent with adult approaches posing as teenagers, using researched slang, inconsistencies in vocabulary, and an unusual interest in getting to know Mariana's routine and family habits. On the 5th day of the investigation, a false lead temporarily diverted resources from the search. An anonymous tip claimed to have seen Mariana at a bus terminal in Curitiba, about 120 kilometers from Joinville. Security footage was analyzed and revealed that it was another adolescent with similar physical characteristics. In parallel with the physical searches, which included teams from the fire department, search dogs, and volunteers combing forested areas near Joinville, the federal police's cybercrime team began mapping Mariana's digital history. It was discovered that, in addition to WhatsApp, the girl had received messages from the same contact through an online multiplayer game, where the first contact likely occurred about 45 days before her disappearance. An analysis of Mariana's tablet revealed something disturbing. The location app had been remotely deactivated at 11:02 a.m. on the day of the disappearance, a time that coincided with the likely meeting in the square. This technical evidence reinforced the hypothesis that Mariana had been approached by someone with advanced knowledge of technology. On the 11th day of the investigation, a gas station attendant from a station located approximately 2 kilometers from the central square contacted the police. Upon seeing Mariana's photo in a local news report, he recognized the girl getting into the passenger seat of a silver car, possibly a Chevrolet Onix, around 11:15 a.m. on March 17, although he couldn't see the driver or the vehicle's license plate. This was the first confirmation that Mariana had left the square area in a car. On the 12th day of the investigation, a significant breakthrough occurred when the data analysis team managed to identify a pattern in Mariana's phone location history before it was turned off. In the 3 weeks leading up to her disappearance, the device had logged brief connections to a specific cell tower in the outskirts of Joinville, always at the same time she was talking to Lucas. This data indicated that the author of the messages was likely regularly in that area. This discovery allowed the police to narrow down a search area of about 3 kilometers, encompassing a declining industrial district and a lower middle-class residential area. Using this information, investigators began monitoring public and private security cameras in that region, looking for vehicles that matched the description provided by the gas station attendant. On April 2nd, 16 days after the disappearance, another crucial piece of evidence emerged. A university student contacted the police, stating that she had noticed suspicious behavior from a man in the central square on the day of the disappearance. According to her testimony, she saw a man in his 30s or 40s wearing a cap and sunglasses, seemingly waiting for someone while alternating his attention between his cell phone and the surroundings. Minutes later, she briefly saw the man talking to a girl in a school uniform before both of them left her line of sight. I only realized the seriousness of what I had witnessed when I saw the girl's photo in the news days later. At first, I thought it might have been a parent or relative, but something in his body language seemed off," said the witness. Based on her description, the police were able to create a composite sketch of the suspect. Around the same time, forensic analysis of Mariana's electronic devices revealed something disturbing. The supposed Lucas had sent the girl a link, supposedly leading to photos of a dog. The link, however, installed spyware on Mariana's phone, allowing remote access to the camera, microphone, and location of the device. This discovery showed the criminal had advanced knowledge of computers and had been monitoring Mariana in the days leading up to their in-person meeting. On April 5th, the federal police's technical forensics team managed to recover fragments of data from the server hosting the spyware, including an IP connection originating from a specific network in the previously identified industrial area. Cross-referencing this data with property records in the region, investigators identified an abandoned warehouse, formerly registered as the headquarters of a software company that had been deactivated for 3 years. In parallel, the search for vehicles matching the gas station attendant's description led to the identification of 7 silver Chevrolet Onix cars registered in the area of interest. After individual verification, 6 owners were ruled out as suspects. The 7th vehicle, however, was registered under the name of Marcelo Ribeiro, 38, a systems engineer who was unemployed and had no criminal record. Upon investigating Ribeiro's professional history, it was found that he had worked for the software company that previously occupied the abandoned warehouse. More significantly, phone records revealed that the suspect had acquired 5 prepaid SIM cards in the past 7 months, a pattern consistent with online grooming activities. Leave a comment if you believe the truth should never be abandoned, and that every missing person deserves to be found. Based on the accumulated evidence, on April 7th, 21 days after Mariana's disappearance, the civil police obtained search and seizure warrants for Marcelo Ribeiro's residence and the abandoned warehouse. A coordinated operation was meticulously planned, involving the Child and Adolescent Protection Division, the Special Police Operations Battalion, BOP, and forensic teams. In the early hours of April 8th at 5:30 a.m., the police surrounded Ribeiro's residence, a 2-bedroom apartment in a middle-class condominium in the northern part of Joinville. To the investigators' surprise, the place was empty. Neighbors reported that they had not seen the suspect for about 2 weeks. The search of the property, however, resulted in the seizure of 3 laptops, various storage devices, and documents that proved his connection to the industrial warehouse. The apartment was organized in a methodical, almost clinical manner, suggesting an extremely calculating individual, said forensic expert Sergio Campos. We found one seemingly normal room and another locked room, adapted as a kind of technical operations center with monitoring equipment and various electronic devices. Meanwhile, the team assigned to the industrial warehouse, located in an isolated area of the district, conducted a tactical entry into the site. A 2-story building, externally deteriorated and seemingly abandoned, turned out to be meticulously adapted inside. On the first floor, the police found only old equipment and furniture covered with tarps, consistent with a deactivated business. However, access to the second floor was protected by a security door with an electronic lock, incompatible with the abandoned appearance of the rest of the structure. After forcing entry, the BOP team discovered a completely different environment. An approximately 80 square meter space divided into 3 areas, all equipped with modern climate control systems, lighting, and security. In the first area, which served as an office, they found state-of-the-art computer equipment, including servers, multiple monitors, and mass storage devices. In the second room, configured as a small living area with a sofa, television, and minibar, investigators found Mariana's pink backpack, confirming that the girl had been in that location. The most disturbing discovery, however, occurred in the third area. When the police opened the locked door, they found a room adapted with a mix of features resembling both a prison cell and a child's bedroom. A bed, shelves with teenage books, posters of popular series among young people, and contrasting with these elements, windows blocked with metal sheets and a door reinforced with external locks. The space was clearly designed to create a false sense of comfort and normalcy, while maintaining total control over the occupant, explained forensic psychologist Dr. Luisa Mendonca, who accompanied the operation. This pattern is consistent with psychological manipulation techniques used by predators to establish emotional dependency in young victims. In the initial analysis of the materials found at the location, experts identified signs that the suspect had monitored not only Mariana, but possibly other young girls from the region. A notebook with detailed notes about school routines, family habits, and emotional vulnerabilities of at least 5 girls aged 11 to 14 was seized, along with devices containing child exploitation material. The absence of both Mariana and the suspect intensified the concerns of investigators. The analysis of security footage from highways in the region, which was initiated immediately after the operation, identified Ribeiro's vehicle leaving Joinville via BR-101 on the night of March 24, exactly 1 week after Mariana's disappearance. Based on vehicle tracking and analysis of toll cameras, the police confirmed that Marcelo Ribeiro's car had traveled along BR-101 to Florianopolis, where it remained for about 3 hours in a shopping mall before continuing south toward Rio Grande do Sul. During this time, security cameras at the mall recorded Ribeiro buying children's women's clothing and hygiene products. On April 10th, the operation received reinforcements from the Federal Highway Police and the Civil Police of Santa Catarina and Rio Grande do Sul. Alerts with descriptions of the suspect, the victim, and the vehicle were distributed to all road inspection posts, tolls, and state borders. On April 12th, 26 days after the disappearance, a hotel worker in the mountain region of Gramado, Rio Grande do Sul, alerted the police. He recognized Ribeiro, who had stayed at the establishment with a girl he introduced as his niece. According to his account, both arrived at night, and the girl appeared extremely quiet and frightened. Ribeiro paid in cash for 3 nights, but left the location hurriedly after just 1 night when he saw a police patrol in the area. With this information, the search concentrated on the mountain region of Rio Grande do Sul. Roadblocks were set up on major highways cutting through the area, and tactical teams began sweeping inns, hotels, and isolated areas. On the morning of April 13th, a patrol from the Federal Highway Police identified Ribeiro's vehicle parked at a rest area on the RS-235 highway between Gramado and Canila. The car was empty but showed signs of recent use. Search teams with sniffer dogs were immediately mobilized to track the surroundings, an area of dense forest and rugged terrain. After 4 hours of intensive searching, the dogs located a secondary trail leading to a small abandoned hunting cabin about 2 kilometers deep in the woods. At the location, tactical teams found Marcelo Ribeiro, who attempted to flee through the back of the cabin upon noticing the approaching police. After a brief chase, the suspect was captured without armed resistance. Inside the cabin, the police found Mariana, physically and emotionally weakened but alive. The girl was dehydrated, showing signs of malnutrition, and had bruises consistent with physical restraint. A preliminary medical evaluation at the scene confirmed that she needed urgent care, and a helicopter from the fire department was called to transport her directly to the Jona de Guzmo Children's Hospital in Florianopolis. The rescue occurred at a critical moment. Given the conditions of the location and the victim's state, we estimate that she would not have survived more than 48 hours in those circumstances, said Major Rodrigo Almeida, who led the rescue. Operation Dot, after receiving initial medical attention and being stabilized, Mariana underwent a series of tests, which fortunately ruled out sexual violence. According to the initial psychological evaluation, the kidnapper's strategy had been to establish a bond of dependence through intense psychological manipulation, a process interrupted by the investigative work that led to his capture. Marcelo Ribeiro was indicted for kidnapping, unlawful detention of a vulnerable person, corruption of minors, identity fraud, use of false documents, and possession of child exploitation material. Further investigation of the seized equipment revealed that he was part of an international network of online predators, sharing techniques for approaching and manipulating minors. Forensic analysis of the servers found in the warehouse exposed a sophisticated system for monitoring potential victims, with data on at least 23 teenagers from Santa Catarina and Parana. This discovery led to the initiation of parallel investigations and strengthened operations against cybercrimes targeting children and adolescents in the southern part of the country. On April 17th, exactly 1 month after the disappearance, Mariana was discharged from the hospital and was finally able to return home. However, her psychological rehabilitation was planned to be a long-term process. The Silva family chose to move to another city after the trauma, seeking a fresh start away from the media attention and the inevitable association with the case that had gained national coverage. The case, known as the Mariana case, led to significant changes in Brazilian legislation regarding cybercrimes and child protection. In December 2023, the Mariana Law, PL 384,523, was passed, increasing penalties for online crimes involving minors and establishing new investigation protocols and rapid response measures in cases of child and adolescent disappearances. Across schools in the country, educational programs on digital safety were implemented, teaching young people how to identify suspicious approaches and the importance of sharing any unknown contacts on social media with trusted adults. If you've watched this far, it's because you care about cases like these that forever mark families. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until the end so I can get to know you and see who truly cares about the search for the truth." Don't forget to like this video and share it so that more people stay alert to the dangers our young people face in the digital world. Subscribe to the channel to follow more investigations like this one, which not only inform but can save lives.